All right, so we're diving into some pretty choppy waters this time.
Yeah, definitely a lot of waves being made.
Australian international student policy, always a hot topic.
It is, and this time it's really kicked up a fuss.
We've got a bunch of articles from the Australian Financial Review, some pretty strong opinions popping up on Chinese social media.
Oh yeah, a lot of chatter out there.
Seems like the government's attempt to put a cap on new international students, it hasn't exactly gone to plan.
It hasn't. No, they
Yeah.
wanted to cap it at 270,000 new students
Yeah.
starting January 1st.
Oh, wow.
But
So right from the start of next year.
yeah, and that just hasn't happened.
Did someone block it or what happened?
You did, yeah. The opposition party and the Greens, they actually teamed up together
Huh, interesting.
and they blocked it.
Okay, so that leaves everyone hanging a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean it does. Imagine you're a student trying to figure out your next steps.
Trying to apply.
Yeah, trying to apply, and suddenly the whole system's in flux.
They must be freaking out a bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They're left wondering, okay, are there going to be caps in the future? What's the visa process going to look like? It's a lot of uncertainty at a really crucial time.
Yeah, when they're making huge life decisions as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's take a look at RMIT University as an example. One of Australia's biggest universities.
Huge.
And they were initially allocated 6,600 places for new international students.
Right, which is a fair bit less than the 8,750 they actually enrolled this year.
Okay, so it's less, but is it a significant drop?
Well, they also had about 1,000 exemptions built in for students who were already enrolled at RMIT campuses overseas.
Oh, right. So those students could come to Melbourne without being counted.
Exactly, so that kind of softens the blow a little.
Yeah.
But even so, RMIT's Vice Chancellor, Alec Cameron, he's expressed some concern.
What's he worried about?
Well, he's worried about a potential feeding frenzy, as he calls it,
Feeding friends.
where universities might rush to enroll as many students as they can before any new policy changes come into effect.
Oh, I see. So just to get them in before the rules change again.
Exactly, and to be fair, he understands the pressure universities are under. He actually predicts their 2025 intake will probably be similar to this year's.
Okay, so it's not really about the numbers then.
No, his main point is that this constant policy shifting, this back and forth, it's creating this real anxiety across the whole university sector.
Yeah, I can imagine.
They need some predictability.
So it's not just the big players like RMIT who are feeling this.
No, not at all. The article also mentions Southern Cross University, which is a regional institution.
Right, yeah.
And their vice chancellor, Tyrone Carlin, he's particularly critical of the current visa processing policies.
Wisher.
Well, they're known as Ministerial Direction 107.
Catchy.
And this policy dictates, how visas processed, who gets priority, and it's been a real point of contention, especially for these regional universities.
What's their main gripe with it?
They feel like it disadvantages them, like they're not getting a fair shake.
So lots of universities on edge, lots of uncertainty.
Yeah, a lot of nail biting going on.
But what about the students themselves? What are they saying about all this?
Well, we've got these sources that have tapped into Chinese social media, and let's just say it's lively.
Okay, lively good or lively bad?
Lively concerned, I think. A lot of the potential students and education agents are using words like dramatic, confusing, chaotic.
They're not exactly a ringing endorsement.
No, not really. Some are even saying that the government's shooting itself in the foot.
Oh, wow.
There is relief that the cap was blocked for now.
Okay.
But there's this underlying sense of well, what's going to happen next? Can we really trust Australia to keep its promises?
Yeah, I can see how they'd be feeling that way, especially when you're talking about investing in an education abroad. It's a massive commitment.
It is. It's not something you take lightly.
So what are they actually saying?
Well, some of the social media posts are actually advising students to think about maybe going to other countries to study.
Oh, wow. Okay, so they're seriously reconsidering.
Yeah, and there's this one quote that really stood out to me. It said, "If you're thinking about studying in Australia, apply early and lock in your place. Who knows what the rules will be next month?"
Oof, that's pretty rough.
Yeah, it's not exactly a vote of confidence.
And it can't be good for Australia's reputation as a top study destination.
It definitely throws a wrench into things. Students need stability and assurance when they're making these kinds of life-changing decisions.
It's not just about the enrollment numbers either, is it? We need to think about the impact this has on the students themselves, their families, the communities they're part of.
Exactly. It's about the human side of things.
The human cost.
Yeah, and the NSW premier, Chris Minns, he actually weighed in on this. He acknowledges that international students are a massive economic force. In fact, it's the second largest export sector in New South Wales.
Wow.
But he also emphasized the need for universities to prioritize their duty of care towards these students.
That's an important point, duty of care. It's so easy to get caught up in the economics of it all and forget that there are real people at the heart of this.
It is. It is. They're not just numbers on a spreadsheet.
It seems like this whole policy chaos has created a ripple effect that's being felt way beyond the university campuses.
Absolutely. We're talking about the livelihoods of people who work in businesses that rely on international students. Housing, retail, tourism, the list goes on.
So it's a really complex web of interconnected factors, and the future of international student policy in Australia is, well, it's up in the air.
It is. It really is.
Hmm.
And this uncertainty it's causing anxiety and distrust on so many levels.
Yeah, and potentially some pretty serious consequences for Australia's economy and its reputation as a welcoming place for students from all over the world.
Yeah, it's a delicate situation for sure, and one that we need to be watching very closely.
Absolutely.
Mm.
And we'll be diving deeper into this in our next episode, so stay tuned.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it really feels like Australia needs to kind of figure out what it wants its relationship with international students to be.
I agree. It's all over the shop at the moment.
Like, is this a place that welcomes them? Or is it going to just keep changing the rules all the time?
Yeah, there's this real sense of, well, of a lack of a clear direction, and that's not good for anyone.
No, it's not. And it kind of makes you wonder if they're willing to make these big changes now, what's stopping them from just doing it all over again in a year or two?
I know, right? It's like that quote we talked about, the one urging students to apply early just to lock in their place, because who knows what's going to happen next.
Yeah, get in while you still
That's
can.
exactly. And that just screams a lack of trust, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. It's like they're saying, come here, but be prepared for anything.
And, they've always marketed themselves as this multicultural, welcoming destination for students, and then they go and do this.
Yeah, it sends a very different message.
It's like they're almost gambling with their own future.
Maybe they are. And speaking of investment, we can't forget the economics of this either.
Oh, absolutely not. International education is a huge industry for Australia.
Massive.
I mean, it's one of their top exports. And it's not just about the tuition fees either.
Yeah.
You've got the housing market, you've got retail, tourism, all of these things.
It all adds up.
It does. It does. It's
yeah.
a whole ecosystem.
Just it's a chain reaction then.
It is. It is instability in one area, and it can have this domino effect on everything.
Yeah, that makes sense. So we've got universities scrambling, we've got students feeling anxious, we've got an economy that's kind of holding its breath. Where do we go from here?
Well, I think it's pretty clear that Australia needs to get its act together when it comes to international student policy.
Figure out what they actually want.
Yeah, because this back and forth, it's doing more harm than good.
Hurting their reputations, stressing students out, and it could end up costing them a lot of money as well.
And, we keep coming back to this, but we can't forget about the human side of things.
The actual students.
The actual people, yeah.
Yeah.
These are real individuals with dreams, with aspirations. They're trying to build a future for themselves. And they're bringing so much to Australia.
Yeah.
They bring diversity, new perspectives, talent. We need to make sure they feel supported and confident in their decision to choose Australia.
And they deserve that.
They do. They absolutely do.
It's not just about numbers.
No, not at all. And that's why I think it's so important for us to be talking about these issues, to be aware of what's happening. We need to have these open discussions, think about the long-term implications, and make sure the government's held accountable for creating a stable and welcoming environment.
Yeah, we need to hold their feet to the fire a bit.
We do. We have to.
So this has really highlighted the complex relationship between education, economics, and politics.
Yeah, they're all tangled up together, aren't they?
And it raises some big questions for the future. Will Australia be able to get back to being seen as a top study destination? Are they going to prioritize long-term stability over, these short-term political wins? And are they going to remember the human faces behind all of this?
All good questions. All questions we need answers to.
Definitely. And it's fascinating because this isn't just an Australian thing.
No, it's not.
This is happening all over the world.
It is. It is. Lots of countries are grappling with these same challenges, trying to figure out how to balance the economic benefits of international education with, their social responsibility.
It's a global issue.
It is, and
Yeah.
that's why it's so important for us to stay informed, to be part of these discussions, and to make sure that we're advocating for policies that are fair and sustainable and that benefit everyone involved.
Yeah, it's a reminder that we're all connected.
Yeah, we are in so many ways.
What happens on the other side of the world can actually affect us over here.
Definitely, and especially in this, globalized world we live in now.
Everything's intertwined.
It is. Think about it. Education, economics, politics.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just look at one in isolation.
Nope. It's all one big mess.
It is.
Yeah.
They're all connected. So as we wrap up our deep dive into all this turmoil with Australian international student policy,
What's the big takeaway?
I think the most important thing to remember is that this situation, it's just a small example of a much bigger issue.
Right, okay.
Countries all over the world are struggling to find the right balance when it comes to international students.
They want the benefits, but
Yeah, they want the economic benefits, but they also need to think about the social and cultural impacts.
how it affects their own people as well.
Exactly. It's a tricky balancing act.
Yeah, like walking a tightrope.
It is. It is. And, Australia's recent policy changes, they just show how hard it is to get it right.
Yeah, and how easy it is to mess it up.
Yeah, they've created all this uncertainty, they've damaged people's trust, and they've potentially hurt their reputation as a place that welcomes students from overseas.
Yeah, it's a bit of a cautionary tale, really.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
But it's also a chance for everyone to take a step back and reflect.
To think about.
Yeah, what does this situation tell us about the role of international education in a globalized world? How can we create policies that are good for the economy but also ethically sound?
Yeah. Those are big questions.
They are. They are. And there aren't any easy answers.
No.
But I think the first step is to acknowledge just how complex this issue is and to have open and honest conversations.
Okay, so we need to...
We need to hear from everyone.
Mm-hmm.
The students, the universities, the governments, the communities, everyone. If we want to find solutions that work for everyone involved.
Solutions that benefit everyone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we also need to remember that international students, they're not just dollar signs.
They're people.
They're individuals with dreams, with aspirations, and they've got the potential to make a real difference in the world.
They bring a lot to the table.
They do. They do. We need to create an environment where they feel valued, supported, and like they can actually achieve their goals.
Well said. This deep dive has been, well, it's been a real eye-opener, and I hope our listeners are feeling the same way.
Yeah, it's been a good discussion.
It's a reminder that we can't just sit back and let things happen. We need to stay informed, we need to think critically, and we need to use our voices to push for a better future.
I completely agree. We all have the power to shape the world we want to live in.
Yeah, we do. So to our listeners, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Remember, every voice matters, so keep exploring, keep asking those tough questions, and keep striving to make a difference.
Couldn't have said it better myself.